Did the hawk's piercing cry carry a premonition, a shadow of the storm gathering on the horizon of Sarah's life? She stood on the precipice of a decision, the vast, indifferent expanse of the Montana plains mirroring the emptiness in her soul. The wind, a restless spirit, tugged at the edges of her worn shawl, whispering tales of hardship and loss, stories that echoed the silent screams trapped within her heart. Around her, the ancient land bore witness to her turmoil. Distant mesas, like slumbering giants, painted a rugged skyline against the bruised twilight. The scent of sagebrush, a fragrance as old as time, filled the air, a stark reminder of the enduring spirit of the land and its first people. Sarah felt a pang of longing for that same resilience, a strength she feared had been leached from her by a life that had offered more sorrow than solace. "I don't deserve a home," the words escaped her lips, a fragile whisper swallowed by the vastness. Each syllable carried the weight of past mistakes and present despair, a self-inflicted exile from a comfort she believed was forever beyond her reach. The setting sun cast long, skeletal shadows, amplifying her sense of isolation, a lone figure adrift in a world that felt both immense and unforgiving. A dust devil danced across the parched earth, a fleeting whirlwind mirroring the chaotic thoughts swirling within Sarah's mind. As she walked, each footfall left a temporary yin-ji in the ochre dust, a transient mark on a landscape that had witnessed countless journeys, countless heartbreaks. She was a wanderer, not by choice, but by circumstance, a leaf carried by the relentless currents of fate. The image of a lone eagle circling overhead caught her attention, its majestic flight a stark contrast to her earthbound existence. She recalled the stories her grandmother, a woman with Cherokee blood flowing in her veins, used to tell. Tales of the eagle as a messenger, a symbol of courage and freedom. Could there be a message for her in its soaring path, a flicker of hope in the desolate landscape of her despair? A sudden stumble brought her back to the harsh reality of her journey. Pain shot through her ankle, a sharp reminder of her vulnerability. She sank to the ground, the rough earth scraping against her skin. Tears welled in her eyes, a mixture of physical pain and the deeper ache of a spirit weary from the constant struggle. Was this her destiny, to fall and never rise again? The creak of saddle leather and the rhythmic thud of hooves broke the silence of the plains. A lone rider appeared on the horizon, a figure silhouetted against the fading light. Sarah's heart pounded with a mixture of fear and a desperate yearning for connection, any connection in her solitary world. He approached slowly, his gaze steady, his presence a sudden intrusion into her self-imposed isolation. He wore the weathered attire of a working cowboy, his face tanned by the sun and etched with the lines of hard work and open skies. There was a quiet strength in his demeanor, a calm assurance that seemed to emanate from the land itself. As he dismounted, his eyes, the color of a twilight sky, met hers, and for a fleeting moment, Sarah felt seen, truly seen, for the first time in a long time. "Ma'am, are you all right?" His voice was gentle, a stark contrast to the ruggedness of his appearance. He offered a hand, his touch surprisingly warm and firm. Hesitantly, Sarah took it, a spark of something unfamiliar flickering within her chest. In that simple gesture, a silent understanding passed between them, a shared acknowledgement of the vastness and the vulnerability of life on the open range. He helped her to her feet, his concern evident in his kind eyes. He introduced himself as Jedediah, a name as solid and grounded as the land he roamed. He offered her water from his canteen, the cool liquid a welcome relief to her parched throat. As she drank, their hands brushed, sending a subtle tremor through her. Jedediah spoke little, but his presence was comforting. He seemed to understand her unspoken pain, the weariness that clung to her like dust. He offered her a ride on his horse, a sturdy gelding named Buster, and Sarah found herself accepting, a flicker of trust igniting in the darkness of her suspicion. It had been so long since anyone had offered her kindness without expecting something in return. As they rode, the landscape unfolded around them, bathed in the soft hues of twilight. Jedediah pointed out landmarks, a peculiar rock formation, a distant stand of cottonwood trees, sharing his knowledge of the land. His words were simple, yet they painted a picture of a life lived in harmony with nature, a stark contrast to the turmoil within her. Could she too find such peace? As darkness enveloped the plains, Jedediah built a small campfire, the flickering flames casting dancing shadows on their faces. The aroma of brewing coffee filled the cool night air, a comforting scent that felt strangely domestic. Sarah found herself talking, hesitantly at first, then with a growing sense of release, sharing fragments of her past, the losses and the mistakes that had led her to this lonely path. Jedediah listened patiently, his gaze steady and non-judgmental. He didn't offer platitudes or easy solutions, but simply held space for her pain, a silent acknowledgement of her suffering. He spoke of his own life, his connection to the land, his respect for the Native American traditions that honored the earth and its spirits. He shared stories of resilience and survival, tales that resonated deep within Sarah's soul. Under the vast expanse of the star-studded sky, a fragile bond began to form between them. Sarah felt a glimmer of hope, a tentative belief that perhaps she wasn't as alone as she had thought. The campfire crackled, its warmth mirroring the thawing of the ice around her heart. Could this chance encounter be more than just a fleeting moment of respite? As they traveled onward, Jedediah led them through a canyon where ancient petroglyphs adorned the towering rock walls. He explained the stories etched in stone, tales of hunts, ceremonies, and the spiritual connection of the indigenous people to this land. Sarah felt a profound sense of history, a recognition that her pain was but a small thread in the vast tapestry of human experience. One particular image, a depiction of a woman with outstretched arms beneath a celestial sky, resonated deeply within her. Jedediah explained that it represented a prayer for guidance and protection. Sarah found herself drawn to it, a silent plea echoing in her own heart. Could she find guidance in this ancient wisdom, a path towards healing and redemption? Later that day, they encountered a small group of Lakota people traveling on horseback. Jedediah greeted them with respect, speaking in their native tongue. Sarah watched, fascinated by their quiet dignity and their deep connection to the land. It was a glimpse into a culture she knew little about, a culture that seemed to hold a wisdom she desperately sought. The weather shifted abruptly. The clear blue sky was replaced by ominous dark clouds that rolled in with menacing speed. The wind howled, carrying with it the scent of rain and the threat of a violent storm. Jedediah quickly set about finding shelter, guiding Buster towards a small overhang in a rocky hillside. As the storm raged outside, the small space felt surprisingly safe and intimate. The thunder echoed through the canyon, and flashes of lightning illuminated their faces. Sarah felt a surge of fear, but Jedediah's calm presence was reassuring. He built a small fire within the shelter, the flickering flames offering a sense of warmth and security amidst the chaos. Huddled together against the storm, Sarah and Jedediah spoke in hushed tones, their voices barely audible above the roar of the elements. They shared more personal stories, vulnerabilities laid bare in the face of nature's raw power. Sarah realized that in this shared adversity, their connection was deepening, forged in the crucible of the storm. The storm passed as quickly as it had arrived, leaving behind a world washed clean and renewed. As they continued their journey, Jedediah spoke of his past, revealing that he had once been married and had lost his wife to illness. Sarah listened with empathy, recognizing the shared experience of grief that bound them. Then he shared something that made Sarah's heart stop. He spoke of his late wife's heritage, revealing that she was part of the Cheyenne tribe. He showed Sarah a small, intricately beaded bracelet that had belonged to her, a tangible link to a culture Sarah had only begun to understand. Sarah was stunned. Her own grandmother, the Cherokee woman whose stories had shaped her childhood, had spoken of a deep connection and shared history between the Cherokee and Cheyenne people. Could this chance encounter with Jedediah be more than just coincidence? Could there be a deeper meaning to their paths crossing? The beaded bracelet felt warm in Sarah's hand, a tangible link to a past she had only glimpsed. Jedediah shared stories his wife had told him, tales of Cheyenne traditions, their reverence for the land, and their strong sense of community. Sarah listened intently, feeling a growing sense of connection to this unfamiliar culture, a resonance with something deep within her own heritage. As they traveled through landscapes that held significance for both their ancestral tribes, Jedediah pointed out sacred sites and explained their importance. He spoke of the interconnectedness of all living things, a philosophy that echoed the teachings of Sarah's grandmother. The land itself seemed to whisper stories of the past, bridging the gap between their different backgrounds. Sarah began to see Jedediah in a new light. He wasn't just a kind stranger. He was a link to a part of herself she had almost forgotten. His respect for his late wife's heritage, his willingness to share it with her, spoke volumes about his character. A seed of hope began to sprout within Sarah. The possibility that she could find not only solace but also a sense of belonging in this unexpected connection. Despite the growing connection between them, shadows of doubt began to creep into Sarah's mind. Her past experiences had taught her that trust was a fragile thing, easily broken. Could she truly believe in Jedediah's sincerity? Was she simply setting herself up for more heartbreak? Memories of past betrayals surfaced, whispering insidious doubts in her ear. She found herself pulling away emotionally, creating a distance between herself and Jedediah, a subconscious attempt to protect her vulnerable heart. The warmth she had begun to feel started to recede, replaced by a familiar chill of fear and uncertainty. Jedediah seemed to sense her withdrawal. His open and easygoing demeanor became tinged with a hint of concern. He didn't push her, but his quiet glances held a question, a silent inquiry into the shift in her mood. Sarah struggled with her conflicting emotions, the desire for connection warring with the ingrained fear of vulnerability. They arrived at a small trading post, a bustling hub of activity amidst the vast emptiness of the plains. Jedediah needed to resupply, and Sarah found herself surrounded by unfamiliar faces, a stark reminder of her outsider status. As Jedediah conducted his business, Sarah felt a wave of anxiety wash over her, a sense of being alone and exposed. A shifty-eyed man approached her, his gaze lingering for too long. He made a suggestive remark, and Sarah felt a surge of panic. Before she could react, Jedediah was at her side, his presence a silent warning. He placed a protective hand on her arm, his eyes conveying a fierce protectiveness that surprised even Sarah. The man backed down, muttering under his breath. As they walked away, Sarah felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. Jedediah's instinctive defense of her, his unwavering support in a moment of vulnerability, spoke volumes. In that small act, a significant crack appeared in the wall of doubt she had built around her heart. Leaving the trading post behind, they found a secluded spot by a clear, flowing stream. As they rested, they shared more stories, delving deeper into their pasts. Jedediah spoke of the challenges he had faced after his wife's death, the loneliness and the struggle to find meaning in his life again. Sarah, in turn, shared more of her own painful history, the circumstances that had led her to believe she was unworthy of love and belonging. With each shared vulnerability, the bond between them grew stronger, woven with threads of empathy and understanding. They found solace in each other's company, a quiet comfort in knowing they were not alone in their struggles. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Jedediah reached out and gently took Sarah's hand. His touch was warm and reassuring, and for the first time in a long time, Sarah didn't flinch. In that simple gesture of human connection, she felt a flicker of hope that perhaps, just perhaps, she could begin to heal. Jedediah spoke of a place he wanted to take her, a site sacred to his late wife's people. He explained that it was a place of healing and reflection, a place where the spirits of their ancestors were said to linger. Sarah felt a sense of anticipation, a feeling that this journey to sacred ground might hold something profound for her own healing. As they traveled, the landscape began to change, becoming more rugged and awe-inspiring. Jedediah pointed out ancient rock formations and explained their significance in Cheyenne mythology. Sarah felt a growing sense of respect for this land and the people who had honored it for generations. When they finally reached the sacred site, Sarah was overcome by a sense of peace and tranquility. The air felt different here, imbued with a quiet energy. Jedediah offered a silent prayer, and Sarah found herself doing the same, a heartfelt plea for guidance and a release from the burdens of her past. As Sarah stood on the sacred ground, she closed her eyes and allowed herself to feel the energy of the place. She remembered her grandmother's stories, the connection to the spirit world, the belief in healing through nature and tradition. In that moment, she felt a profound sense of connection to her ancestors, a feeling that she was not truly alone. A vision came to her, fleeting but powerful. She saw a woman standing tall and strong, her face filled with peace and resilience. The woman looked vaguely familiar, and Sarah had the distinct feeling that it was a representation of her own potential, a glimpse of the woman she could become. When she opened her eyes, the world seemed brighter, filled with a renewed sense of possibility. The weight on her heart felt a little lighter, the scars of her past a little less raw. The journey to this sacred place had stirred something within her, a flicker of self-belief that had long been dormant. As they journeyed back from the sacred site, Sarah found herself ready to confront some of the painful memories she had long suppressed. With Jedediah's gentle encouragement and unwavering support, she began to speak of the events that had led her to believe she didn't deserve a home. She shared stories of loss, of betrayal, and of her own mistakes. It was difficult, and tears often flowed freely, but with each shared memory, a small part of the burden lifted. Jedediah listened patiently, offering words of comfort and understanding, never judgment. He shared his own regrets and vulnerabilities, reminding Sarah that everyone carried scars, that imperfections were part of being human. In this safe and supportive space, Sarah began to realize that her past did not define her, that she had the power to choose a different future. Their journey took an unexpected turn when they came across a small homestead that had been ravaged by fire. The charred remains of a cabin stood as a stark reminder of the harsh realities of frontier life. Jedediah felt compelled to stop and investigate, his sense of compassion overriding their own travel plans. They discovered a distraught family huddled amidst their ruined belongings, their faces etched with despair. Jedediah immediately offered his assistance, and Sarah, without hesitation, joined in. They helped salvage what little remained, offering food and water and a comforting presence in the face of their devastating loss. Working alongside Jedediah, Sarah felt a sense of purpose she hadn't experienced in a long time. Her own pain seemed to recede as she focused on the needs of others. In this act of selfless kindness, she began to understand that healing often came through helping others heal. As they sat by the campfire that night, the faces of the displaced family still fresh in their minds, Jedediah turned to Sarah, his eyes filled with a deep emotion. He spoke of how her strength and compassion in the face of adversity had touched him deeply. Then he took her hand and said, "Sarah, I know we haven't known each other long, but in this short time, you've become more important to me than I ever thought possible." He paused, his gaze unwavering. "She said, I don't deserve a home." He echoed her earlier words, his voice gentle but firm. "But Sarah, you are my home." Tears welled in Sarah's eyes, tears of disbelief and overwhelming emotion. In that simple declaration, all the walls she had built around her heart began to crumble. For the first time in years, she felt truly seen, truly valued, not for what she had lost or what she had done, but for who she was in that moment. The rising sun painted the eastern sky in hues of gold and crimson, a symbol of the new beginning dawning in Sarah's life. She looked at Jedediah, his face softened by the morning light, and a feeling of profound peace settled within her. She knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but she also knew she wouldn't have to face it alone. "Jedediah," she began, her voice filled with a newfound confidence. Maybe we can build a home together." A small smile touched her lips, the first genuine smile in what felt like a lifetime. He reached for her hand, his grip strong and reassuring. "That's all I've ever wanted, Sarah." As they looked out at the vast expanse of the plains, now bathed in the warm glow of a new day, they knew their journey was far from over. But now, they would face it together, two souls finding solace and belonging in each other, their hearts intertwined under the endless sky.